the majority of the population was barred from voting until 1920. That was, 140 plus years after the U.S. Constitution was adopted. Women couldn't vote. Black people couldn't vote. Huge parts of the population were barred from voting. Black people really, in the majority, weren't able to vote until 1965. And then the political equations, that was with the passage of the Voting Rights Act, because the southern states used all kinds of tricks to bar black voters from voting. Now you can see Trump lost the election by a large margin in the popular vote, 7 million, but he narrowly lost the electoral vote in some key states. In those key states, it was the black voter turnout that made the difference. So now the Republicans are kind of going back to the old historical playbook of trying to disenfranchise some voters, especially black voters who they think will be voting Democratic, and they're using all kinds of tricks. And the fact that the U.S. Congress, which is, got a Democratic majority in the Senate, in the House, and a Democratic president, and they didn't really invest any capital in the voting rights bill, I mean, that's something terrible. That's something that is designed to contract, not expand democracy. And here you have the U.S. government telling all the rest of the world about how wonderful democracy is. And at the same time, the priorities of the big political parties, or at least one of them with very muted reaction from the other, is to limit or to take away voting rights, the basic, what was considered the core of political democracy. Really something.
But I have to interject here because you asked me to proceed to a question quickly. What voting rights are being taken away? Where?
Let me just make my case.
Like old Jim Crow politics. You have plenty of airtime.
Old Jim Crow politics.
Let me make my case here.
Okay, Brian, just a moment. Adolfo, go ahead.
Yes. The number thing is, under our Constitution, the states set the rules for the management of elections. Yeah. This bill is in itself unconstitutional. There is nothing in the legislations in states like Texas and Georgia that are prohibiting anybody from voting.
All right.
Jim Crow is segregation of races. It has nothing to do with it as a canard.
Okay.
Brian,
go ahead.
The laws that
Adolfo, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute, Adolfo.
And
Brian.
Texas are the same laws that apply today in Delaware, where Joe Biden has been a senator for 40 years and defended those laws.
All right,
there
Adolfo.
Is nothing in the laws.
Adolfo, I'm running out of time. I need Brian to get in there. Brian, go ahead.
It's just an outright misrepresentation.
Go ahead, Brian.
Anybody who's paying attention knows that the Republican Party considers it vital to the possibility of Republican successes in the future to limit voter turnout. That's why we're eliminating voter turnout, voting on Sundays. That's why we're eliminating drop-off ballots. That's why we're eliminating early voting in many areas. All of these, and why we have ID laws, which of course will make it harder for poor people to vote. There's only one reason this is happening. The Republicans don't want a certain number, especially black people, to vote in America.